Sometimes we think our approach with youth and sport has to be this fluffy, everyone gets trophies and rewards kind of picturesque portrait for our kids. But that's actually not what sport teaches. So we want sports to be competitive. We want it to be hard. We want our youth to be presented opportunities where they fail and have to try again. So never will I argue that sport needs to become this context that it's not, because it's defined by competition, it's competitive, and that's the reason it works. I'm Andrea Ettekal, Associate Professor in the Department of Educational Psychology at Texas A&M University. So kids can get a lot of good things out of sports. Right now, my research program, we've been distinguishing between moral attributes that kids get out of sports. So how do they learn good from bad, right from wrong? Moral virtues like honesty, like compassion and empathy. But we also look on the performance side to see what are the performance attributes our young people can get out of sports. These are pretty easy. Sports reliably develops grit, perseverance, resilience, the performance side. One of the more interesting thing about sports is under what conditions or what are the right elements to also produce moral virtue and not just the performance side of sport. Moral virtue is really important to learn in sports, and especially in sports. Sometimes we think of sport as just a game that sort of transcends our daily lives, but what kids are actually learning as being a part of this game is how you make decisions, how you reason around the types of behaviors you want to display, or how you rationalize how you act and treat others in sport. We have found that that kind of learning process of how we learn to reason in the game of sport, youth then take that, we call it life skills transfer, and transfer it outside of sport and apply that same kind of reasoning in their daily lives. Youth can use these tools in all parts of their lives. We can think easily of how this generalizes to the school context, how you take exams, how you mentally prepare to take exams, how you get along with your peers at school, just relationships generally, how you get along with your siblings and your family relationships. How do we also then take these skills into the workforce with us later in life and be the kind of employee that's hireable and that companies want to hire and work with? Sometimes I think parents can be a little fearful of sport as a primary developmental context because of what we have seen is the professionalization of youth sport. We have elevated our expectations so high on our young people to perform and compete at levels that are no longer developmentally appropriate. So I think as a parent, we need to think about sport as developmental contexts. These aren't just contexts to learn the technical skills of sport. We're learning the relational skills that position us in life. So our expectation in sport, one, is to challenge sport culture and the win-at-all-cost of sport culture. As parents, that should never be what we want to get out of sport, or at least not the sole purpose of sport. We do want to win. It's a competition. That's the point. But if we think about sport as a developmental context, where we're learning more than just the technical skills of sport, that then switches your thinking to want your kid to fail. Because failure, sport gives us that safe context to practice making mistakes, to practice being wrong. And we want, that's the hardest thing to do as a parent, is to see your kid fail. But that's what we want, guys, because we're practicing what it means to try again and advance beyond your own skill level. The most important thing that I have found in my research is that we learn how to treat other people. I boil it all down to character development. And character is our capacity to serve the world beyond ourselves. So it includes not just our ability to morally reason, but our performance capacities to be able to enact moral virtue to create a greater good. Sport is a place we practice that. Many of our youth participate in sports, so it's a great place to find the youth. So this is a place where we can meet them in the middle in their natural daily lives. Coaches who are interested in taking more of this developmental approach really need to have a shift in their thinking about who a coach is and what the role of a coach is. Oftentimes coaches will think about themselves as technical experts, and my job here is to relay technical expertise about playing a game. But coaches can think about themselves as developmental practitioners, which means your job now becomes raising children. You're a part of these kids' lives, their stories. And you should think about yourself as the role model, as the relational leader, as the teacher, as the educator, who also teaches the technical skills of sport. So high expectations, we know, but if you can shift your thinking on what the purpose of that job is, you can expand the potential for your impact.